Hello students, good evening. Let us start today's session with a glance of your previous session. Okay. So what did we study in our last class? We studied about transportation and animals. So I have told you as well as in transportation in plants. So transportation in plants, we have ended with the transportation in plants. So in transportation in plants, I have told you there is no regular circulatory system. And plants, they use carbon dioxide and water to perform photosynthesis. At the same time, they require the raw materials such as nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, magnesium, etc. to build up the tissue. And the nearest and richest source for these minerals is a soil. And the plants are going to take up these minerals through which part? Through the root. Which part exactly of that of the root? It is a root hairs. And I have told you in small plant the transportation is very easy because it can take place through the diffusion, where diffusion is a movement of molecules from its region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration without the expenditure of energy. But how the conduction of the materials is going to take place over long distance in longer plants with a greater height. So diffusion is not sufficient for the conduction of the raw materials as well as for providing energy. There must be a proper transportation system, but you must remember the the energy needs is less because they are not going to move, and they require a slow transport system as there are large number of dead cells in their body. And I have told you there are two pathways developed by the plant, that is through xylem and the phloem, and both the pathway are independent of each other. Okay. Then we have studied about the components of xylem. I have told you xylem is a complex permanent tissue. Complex because it is made up of different kinds of cells. Permanent because it has lost the capacity to divide. So I have told you the different components of xylem, that is tracheids, vessels, fibers, that is xylem fibers and xylem parenchyma. So tracheids are elongated cells with pointed ends. Okay, tracheids are elongated cells with pointed end, whereas vessels are tube-like structures. Xylem fibers are nothing but these are the sclerenchyma cells which provide the mechanical support. Xylem parenchyma is a parenchyma cell, a common parenchyma cell which you have heard about. But here in xylem it is going to help in the storage. But for us, we are studying about the conduction in plants. So it is mainly tracheids and vessels. Tracheids elongated with pointed end, vessels tube-like structure. So these conducting elements, that is tracheids and vessels of the root, stem and leaves, they are interconnected. How are they? They are interconnected and they form a continuous water conducting channel. I have told you. Okay. Then I have told you what is sap. So water along with the minerals which is absorbed by the plant is called as sap. And in the last session we have learnt a new term, that is ascent of sap. That is upward movement of sap from the root to the top of the plants against the force of gravity. I have told you. So water is lost in the form of vapor, and with the help of the root, water is absorbed along with the minerals. So water along with the minerals is absorbed against the force of gravity, or it is absorbed against a gravitational force. Okay. Then I have told you about a term, that is root pressure. So cells of the roots are in contact with the soil. When cells of the roots are in contact with the soil, what are they going to take up from the soil? They are going to take up the ions from the soil. Okay. So when ions enter into the cells of the root, what happens? The concentration here of ions is going to increase. So as soon as the osmotic pressure is going to increase, the water will be absorbed from the soil. So when water is absorbed from the soil, a pressure is going to develop inside the root, and that pressure which is developed, a positive pressure which is developed inside the root, is called as a root pressure, which is maximum in the early morning. And I have told you, as the day advances, that is from morning to afternoon, so the root pressure goes on decreasing. This root pressure is not sufficient for the transport of sap over long distance, and they have found out that even in the absence of root pressure, the ascent of sap can take place. That means the plant must have something else which is going to help in the transportation. Okay, there must be an alternate strategy which is going to help in the transportation or conduction, that is transpiration. So what is transpiration, students? It is loss of water in the form of vapor from the aerial parts of the plant body. So it may be through the leaves or any aerial part of the plant body, then that is called as transpiration. So it is a major driving force during the daytime, and it results in transpiration pull. And we have studied about the significance of transpiration, that is, it creates a pull, that is called as transpiration pull. And I've told you, it reduces the leaf temperature. So when water is lost from the surface, it results in a cooling effect on the leaf. And whatever excess of water is there inside the plant body, that is also removed through transpiration. And there is a constant supply of ions. So when the plant is going to transpire water, equal amount of the water will be absorbed from the soil. So along with the water, ions also is going to enter. That is how there is a constant supply of ions. And I have also told you that transpiration is a necessary evil. Okay, it is very much necessary, but more than the advantage, there is disadvantage. So more disadvantage over advantage. Disadvantage is they are going to reduce the growth, they are also going to reduce the yield, and they are going to bring about wilting. So wilting is when the rate of absorption is less and the rate of transpiration is more. And we have studied different factors affecting transpiration. So when there is lots of moisture or water vapor in the air, that is humidity. When humidity is high, transpiration is less. When humidity is more, the transpiration is when the humidity is high, the transpiration is going to decrease. When humidity is less, the transpiration is going to increase. With the increase in the temperature, the rate of transpiration is also going to increase. With the decrease in temperature, the rate of transpiration is going to decrease. Light. The rate of transpiration increases with the increase in the amount of light, because light brings about the opening of the stomata. So with the increase in the wind, there is increase in the rate of transpiration, because whatever water droplets are there on the surface, it is easily carried along with the wind. Water. Increase in the availability of water also can increase the rate of transpiration. Okay. Then we were studying yesterday at the end about transpiration pull. Okay. So I have told you transpiration, students, loss of water in the form of vapor from the aerial parts of the plant body. That is a force. This transpiration is a force which is going to lift the water. From where is it going to lift the water? It lifts the water from the soil. Like how we lift the water from the well with the rope. Okay, so this transpiration helps in lifting of the water from the soil to the each and every parts of the plant body. Okay, so as a result, when it is lifting the water, there is a continuous water column inside the plant body. There is a continuous water column, and this water column is not broken. The water column is not broken because there is attraction between the water molecules. So if water molecules are moving here, there is attraction between the water molecules. That is not only sufficient, water molecule is also attracted towards a wall. Okay, so you know water molecules move through xylem, right? If you imagine this to be the xylem of the stem, here water is moving. The water molecules must have attraction between each other, and also this water molecule must be having the attraction with the wall of the xylem. Only then it forms a continuous water column. Okay, so water molecules have attraction between each other as well as with the wall of the xylem. I told you about how water is lost from the leaf in the form of the vapor. This is nothing but the cross section of leaf which we have already studied. So I have told you there are two epidermis in the leaf, upper epidermis and the lower epidermis. If it is a dicot leaf, more number of the stomata is distributed on the lower epidermis. And what is shown here, it is a guard cells. So guard cells, it is a part of the stomatal apparatus. So guard cells open. When guard cells open, what happens? Water diffuses out in the form of the vapor. So now there is loss of water in the guard cells. So as soon as it loses water, it is going to absorb the water from the neighboring cell, which is a neighboring cell to the guard cell, students. It is a mesophyll cells. Now in the mesophyll cells there is no water. Why in mesophyll cells there is no water? Because it has given its water to the guard cell. So immediately it is going to absorb the water from the neighboring source, which is a source which is available for the mesophyll cell. There is a source, that is a leaf xylem. In leaf xylem there is water. So water from the leaf xylem is going to move to the mesophyll cells. Guard cell loses water. So it takes up water from its neighboring cell. The neighboring cells here are mesophyll cell. Now mesophyll cells have lost water. So they will take up the water from their nearest source, which is their nearest source, that is a leaf xylem. Now leaf xylem has given its water. There is no water in the leaf xylem. So it is immediately going to draw the water from the stem xylem. So leaf xylem draws the water from the stem xylem. So leaf xylem is in connection with the stem xylem. This is xylem of the stem. Okay. So as a result, it creates a pull. Okay. So there is some suction which is created because this leaf xylem is going to absorb the water from the stem xylem. Now a suction is created in the stem. Stem xylem doesn't have water. So immediately it is going to absorb the water from its neighbor. That is, it's a root xylem. Okay, stem xylem, if it is not having water, it has to absorb it from the root xylem. Now root xylem has given its water to the stem xylem. There is no water in the root xylem. So it is going to absorb from the soil through the root hair. Water is going. So if there is water here, so water through the root hair is going to enter into the root and crossing the cells or moving through the intercellular spaces, it is going to reach the root xylem. From the root xylem, water moves into the stem xylem. From the stem xylem into the leaf xylem. Like this, a continuous water column has been formed, and this is because of transpiration. If water was not lost from here, the water would not have been absorbed from here. Okay. So transpiration help in absorption of water from the soil. So transpiration creates a pull. Transpiration creates a pull. That pull is called as a transpiration pull. That pull is going to help the root hair absorb the water from the soil. That is transpiration pull, students. Okay. So next we'll move on to transport of food. Transport of food. We have already studied transport of water is through xylem, then transport of food is through phloem. Okay. So now transport transport, or what is the other term we can use? Movement. Transport or movement of soluble products of photosynthesis, soluble product of photosynthesis from leaves to other parts of the plants. What happens, students? There is transport or movement of soluble products of photosynthesis. Earlier we have studied photosynthesis, we have studied the reaction involved in photosynthesis, and now we know what are the products of photosynthesis. Okay, the soluble product of photosynthesis is transported. It is transported from the leaves to the other parts of the plant. Okay, so what is this called as? This transport or movement of soluble products of photosynthesis from the leaves to other part of the plant is called as translocation. Remember, students, what is translocation? Okay, so this process is called as translocation. Okay, now this translocation occurs through phloem. So which tissue is responsible for translocation? It is phloem. As you know, the phloem is again a complex permanent tissue, isn't it? You have studied it in your 9th standard. So complex wise, students, because it is made up of different kinds of cells. Permanent wise, students, because it has lost the capacity to divide. Okay, so as I have told you, it is made up of different kinds of cells. It's made up of 4 different kinds of cells, that is sieve tube. The first one is sieve tube, companion cell, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. These are the different types of cells present in this complex permanent tissue. Okay, so the sieve tube. Okay, sieve tube, as its name indicate, it is tube-like structure. Okay, somewhat like this sieve tube, and this is sieve plate. What is there on the sieve plate? I am showing that dotted appearance, that is called as sieve pore. These tube-like structures, they are arranged one above the other. So if this is a sieve tube, the sieve tubes are arranged like this, one above the other, forming a continuous conducting system. Okay, this is one sieve tube and this is a other sieve tube. They are arranged one above the other like this. Okay, so you can imagine this end to be the sieve plate, and what is that sieve plate having? It is having sieve pores. So companion cells, these are nothing but the parenchyma cells. These are parenchyma cells but with a prominent nucleus and dense cytoplasm. Okay, so it is having a prominent nucleus and a dense cytoplasm. Companion cell. Fibers, sclerenchyma fibers, elongated with pointed ends. Okay, and phloem parenchyma, of course it is going to help in the storage. Okay, a normal parenchyma cell. Okay, a normal parenchyma cell which is going to help in the storage. So now can you tell me which is the conducting element? So here fibers, mechanical support, here phloem parenchyma, storage. So which is the conducting element, which is tube-like. So it is a sieve tube which is going to help in the conduction. But remember students, the sieve tubes are enucleated. Enucleated. What is enucleated? They do not have a nucleus. Okay. So it is a living cell, but it is a enucleated cell. Okay. It is an enucleated cell. So the activities are controlled by this cell, which is called as a companion cell. This cell is a companion of the sieve tube. That is why it is called as a companion cell. Okay. So before studying how the transport is going to take place through the phloem, you must be knowing the different components of the phloem. Which are the different components? Sieve tube, companion cell, phloem fibers and phloem parenchyma. So out of which the sieve tube is going to help in the conduction and companion cell is going to control the activities of the sieve tube. Okay, so this is a different components of the phloem. Now, what were we talking about the translation and is going to take place through phloem. Which component of phloem? Sieve tube. Okay. So what is that transport or movement of soluble products of photosynthesis? So it includes transport is transported. Transported. What are in transport? The transported soluble products are so sucrose. So glucose is a product of photosynthesis. It is translocated in the form of sucrose. Synthesized in the form of glucose, translocated in the form of sucrose, stored in the form of starch. Okay. So which are the transported soluble products? It is sucrose. And there are also amino acids in that. Amino acids as well as hormones. Hormones will be there. Okay. Now, where are these soluble products or food delivered to? Where is the food delivered? Okay, the food is delivered to storage organs. Okay, food is delivered to the storage organs. The storage organ roots. Food is delivered to the fruits. It is delivered to the seeds. All these are the storage organs. And not only storage organ, the food is also delivered to growing organ. Different parts of the plant which are growing are also going to receive the food. The food is delivered through phloem to the storage organ. the food is delivered through phloem to the growing organs. Okay. And you must remember the translocation. Now you know what is translocation, students. It is the transport or movement of soluble products of photosynthesis from leaf to other part of the plant. This translocation in phloem utilizes energy. Which form of energy? ATP. Okay, utilizes energy, that is ATP. Now, I have already told you translocation companion cells, with the help of companion cells. Okay. And remember, students, phloem transport is bidirectional. Phloem transport is bidirectional, whereas xylem transport, what is the other term we can use? Ascent of sap. Ascent of sap is unidirectional. Okay, always remember, phloem transport is bidirectional, ascent of sap is unidirectional. Okay, so water, it has to always move from the soil to the root, then to the different parts of the plant, then it's not going to come back. But the food can be synthesized by performing photosynthesis by the leaf. Okay, and storage organ, and one example for storage organ is a root. And whenever the food is needed, the food can be utilized, which is stored in this storage organ. So the food can move from the leaf to the root, and there in the root it can get stored, and whenever it is required, it can move from the root to the different parts of the plant. So it can move either from the top, that is from the leaf to the root, and from the root to the leaf. Okay, leaf to root, root to leaf. That is, phloem transport is bidirectional, whereas ascent of sap is unidirectional. Okay, so to be more clear with this, I'll give you one example. That is, in summer season, you might have seen leaves start falling. Have you seen? Leaves starts falling. In winter season, if you have seen, many trees are bare. They are bare. Okay. But in spring season, the plants get conditions, what they do is sugar which is stored in root or stem would be transported to buds whenever leaf is going to perform photosynthesis. It is going to prepare the food, and the food is stored in the storing organ, and whenever it is required for the growth, food is required for the growth, it will be utilized from this storing organ. It is going to move from this storing organ to the different part of the plant. So, how the transport of food is going to take place? Through the phloem. Okay. Now, sieve tube. This is a sieve tube. This is a conducting element of phloem. You can just conduct the food. Okay. So I told you the food is translocated in the form of sucrose. Now, the sucrose moves inside the sieve tube. Sucrose moves inside the sieve tube. Okay, sucrose moves inside the sieve tube. What happens, students, when sucrose moves inside the sieve tube? So when I say sucrose moves inside the sieve tube, this is not a simple process. First, from where does the sucrose come? So it is a mesophyll cells. Mesophyll cells, they are going to produce this sucrose. From this mesophyll cells, sucrose moves to companion cells. Companion cells, as I have told you, it is a component of phloem. So from the mesophyll cells, the sucrose moves into the companion cells. Okay, students, do you know what is it called as? It is called as phloem loading. It is called as phloem loading. Phloem is loaded. It is loaded with what? It is loaded with the sucrose. So from the mesophyll cells, sucrose is transported to the companion cells, and what is it called as? Phloem loading. And from the companion cells, sucrose is going to move into the sieve tube. Okay, if this is a sieve tube, companion cells will be present close to the sieve tube. Okay, this is where the companion cells will be present. So companion cell, it gets sucrose from the mesophyll cells, and from the companion cells, sucrose moves inside the sieve tube. Now what happens inside the sieve tube? Now sugar, students, the concentration is going to increase. Is going to increase. Okay, that is, there is a term that is increase in osmotic pressure. increase in osmotic pressure. Okay. So osmotic pressure is nothing but it is a force created or caused by solution passing through the semi-permeable membrane. Solution passing through semi-permeable membrane. Okay. Now when this solution, sucrose solution, passes through the semi-permeable membrane, a force is created. That force is called as osmotic pressure. Okay. So when this osmotic pressure increases or the concentration of the sugar increases, the next step is water moves into it. How does water move into it? So here there might be a xylem. What is this xylem doing, students? This xylem is, okay, so this is xylem. What is this xylem doing? It is conducting water. Now what happened? Here the sugar level has increased. When sugar level or osmotic pressure increases, so it draws water. It draws water from the xylem. Okay. Water from the xylem enters into the sieve tube. When water moves into the sieve tube, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? Pressure develops due to the entry of water. Okay, here water has entered. Because of the entry of the water, what happens, students? A pressure is created inside the cell. So this pressure, okay, this pressure, the pressure due to the entry of water, this pressure moves the material in the phloem to the tissues with lower pressure. Okay. Now what happens? From the mesophyll cell, sucrose enters into the companion cell. Okay. And from the companion cell, the sucrose enter into the sieve tube. Okay. Now, in the sieve tube, osmotic pressure is going to increase, or concentration of the sugar is going to increase. So, what is the sieve tube going to do? It is going to draw the water from the neighboring cell. That is, it is going to draw the water from the xylem. This is xylem, this is sieve tube. Okay. So, what is moving here? Water. So, water from the xylem is drawn into, it is absorbed by the sieve tube. When water enters into the sieve tube, what happens, students? When water enters into the sieve tube, a pressure is going to develop, and as a result, the pressure moves the material from the phloem to the other tissues with the lower pressure. So, in the phloem, that is in the sieve tube, the pressure is more. From there, the food material is going to move to the locations where there are lower pressure. Okay. So, now I'll just give you a schematic representation. Now, you imagine mesophyll cell is a source. Source means it is the one which is going to help in the photosynthesis. Okay. From the source, what is going to happen? There is loading. What is loaded? What is loaded? Companion cell is loaded. What is it called as? Phloem loading. From the source, phloem loading is going to take place. That is, sucrose enters into the companion cell. From the companion cell, it is going to enter into the sieve tube. So this long tube, I am showing it as a sieve tube. Okay. So here there is phloem loading, means imagine this to be a companion cell into which the sucrose is loaded. From the companion cell, the sucrose is going to enter into the sieve tube. Okay, what happens in the sieve tube, students? Osmotic pressure is going to increase. What is osmotic pressure? It is the pressure which is caused by the solution passing. So solution has entered inside the sieve tube. So as a result, a pressure has developed. That pressure is called as osmotic pressure. So when the pressure, that is osmotic pressure, increases or concentration of the sugar increases, what happens? Imagine this to be xylem. This is xylem. Water from the xylem moves into the sieve tube. Okay. Now when water enters into the sieve tube, what happens? There is a pressure. As the pressure is developed, what is going to move now? The materials are going to move. From where is it going to move? It is going to move from the sieve tube to the region with the lower pressure. For example, a root is a sink where it has to take up the food. Source is the one which is going to prepare the food, and sink, imagine sink is the one which is going to receive the food. So imagine this is a sink here. Source, synthesis takes place here. Sink, which is going to receive. So here the pressure is less, here the pressure is more. The food is going to move from here to here. Okay. That is, here deloading will take place. Deloading. Whatever sucrose is there inside the sieve tube, it is transferred into the sink. Okay. And later in the sink, it may be stored or it may be used up. Okay, it may be stored or it may be used up. Then what happens? Water again is going to move back. Okay, when this sucrose is stored or when the sucrose is used up, water again is going to move back to the xylem. And the loading of the sucrose or deloading of the sucrose requires ATP. Okay, ATP is very much needed. Sucrose transfer requires ATP. Okay, ATP is required for the sucrose transport. So it is an active transport because there is expenditure of energy. Okay, it is an active transport because it is involving expenditure of the energy. So that is transport in plants. Then there is an activity with respect to transport in plant. It is a simple activity. What is done here is 2 potted plants are taken, students. 2 pots are taken. Okay, before that 2 pots are taken. The 2 pots are of the same size. And the 2 pots are filled with the soil. What is filled here? It is filled with the soil. same amount of soil is filled. Okay, both the pots are filled with the same amount of the soil, but one plant, in one pot there is a plant, in the other pot there is just a stick. No plant here, there is just a stick. In this pot there is a plant. Both the pots of the same size, equal amount of soil is filled, and what they do is they are going to cover the soil. They are going to cover the soil. Both the pot where soil is there, it is covered so that there is no loss of water. With the polythene bag or plastic bag, they are going to cover the soil. Now what is there? In one pot there is a plant, in the other pot there is just a stick. Now both the plants are covered with a plastic sheet. Both the pots are covered with the plastic sheet. Okay, both the pots are covered with the plastic sheets, so that by plastic sheet, moisture is not going to escape. There is no escape of moisture. Now this setup is placed in the sunlight. This setup is placed in the sunlight for half an hour. For half an hour this setup is placed in the sunlight. The question is there any difference? Is there any difference? Yes students, we can see the difference. That is, here we can see the deposition of water droplets. Here in this pot with the plant, that is a photosynthesizing plant, we can see droplets inside the plastic sheet, but here there is no water droplets. Okay, this just indicates that in this plant where leaves are there, transpiration has taken place, loss of water in the form of vapor when it is placed in the sunlight. But here there are no leaves. It is just a stem which is cut, or just a stick which is there, which is placed in the pot. There are no leaves, so there is no transpiration. When there is no transpiration, water droplets are not collected inside this polythene sheet. Okay, so there are two pots which are taken, are of the same size, filled with equal amount of the soil. They are covering the soil so that the moisture is not going to escape. In one plant, in one pot there is a plant, in the other pot there is just a stick or a twig without the leaves. Now cover both the pots and place the setup in the sunlight. For how long? For half an hour. After half an hour, what you can see? You can see water droplets inside the polythene or plastic sheet, where in the pot with the plant, that is, it indicates transpiration. In the other pot with the stick, there is no water droplets, that is, there is no transpiration. Okay, so that is the activity regarding the transpiration. Then moving on to the next topic, students, that is excretion. Excretion. Now, what is this excretion? What is this excretion? So, metabolic activity, chemical reactions are taking place inside the body, So that is called as metabolism, and I have also told you that the metabolism may be a constructive process where it is anabolism, or it may be a destructive phase inside the body, and this metabolic activities is going to generate, what is it going to do? It is going to generate the nitrogenous materials or nitrogenous waste. Nitrogenous waste materials is going to generate nitrogenous waste materials, and this nitrogenous waste materials are harmful. That is why it has to be removed. It has to be removed. Okay, nitrogenous waste material are harmful. That is why excretion. What is the definition for excretion? Excretion is a biological process. It has to be a biological process, right? It is a biological process involved in removal of harmful metabolic waste from the body. Okay, metabolic activities generates nitrogenous waste which is harmful, and the biological process where there is removal of this metabolic waste, it is called as excretion. Okay, students, excretion and egestion, is it same? Excretion versus egestion, is it same? When I say excretion, what will be your definition? Sending out waste from your body is called as excretion. Is it so that excretion and egestion both are sending out of the waste from the body? That is why excretion and egestion is same. So excretion definition I have already told you. It is a process where harmful metabolic wastes are removed from the body. Then what is egestion, students? Egestion already we have studied when we have spoken about digestion. Egestion is passing out undigested food as feces through anus. Okay, so that is the main difference between excretion and egestion. Excretion and egestion are not the same. Excretion is removal of harmful metabolic waste from the body. Egestion is passing out the undigested food as feces from the anus. Okay, it is passed through the anus. That is the main difference between excretion and egestion. Excretion and egestion are not same. So if you take unicellular organism, okay, you take unicellular organisms. In this unicellular organism, excretion takes place through simple diffusion. Very easy. Their nutrition is also going to take place through simple diffusion. Excretion is also going to take place through simple diffusion. Okay. What example you can give? Example you can give amoeba. You can give paramecium. All these are unicellular organism where excretion can take place through simple diffusion. But that simple diffusion is not sufficient for multicellular organism. Multicellular organisms. Okay. In multicellular organism, they use specialized organs. Specialized organs to perform the function of excretion. Okay, to perform the function of excretion. There are different organs in different organisms. For example, it is a tube-like structure called as nephridia, which is going to help in the excretion. And if you have seen prawns, in prawns there are green glands, which is going to help in excretion. Cockroaches, there is Malpighian tubules, which is going to help in excretion. So this is just example I have given, like different organism will be having different organs which is going to help in the excretion. This is not important for us. For us important is only the human excretory system. Okay, human excretory system. So now I gave you an example of earthworm, prawn and cockroach just to say that different organisms have, or different types of organism have different types of excretory organs. Okay, and also the nitrogenous waste which is excreted also is going to vary. Few organisms they excrete ammonia. Okay, few excrete urea, few excrete uric acid. Highly toxic nitrogenous waste which is produced by the body. Uric acid is least toxic. Ammonia is highly toxic. Uric acid is least toxic. Being highly toxic, it requires lots of water to be sent out. Okay, so what is excreted? Which nitrogenous wastes are excreted? Few organisms they excrete ammonia. Ammonotelic organisms they are called as ammonotelic. Okay, it's just for your information. Ammonotelic organism, the one which excrete ammonia. And our nitrogen is waste product is urea. We are ureotelic. We excrete urea. And birds or some reptiles, they excrete uric acid. They are called as uricotelic organisms. Okay, this is just for your information. The nitrogenous wastes are of different types which is excreted by different organisms. Few excrete ammonia. For example, is bony fishes which live in water. They excrete ammonia, and as they live in water, they can send this ammonia which is highly toxic with the help of water. Okay, so lots of water is required as it is highly toxic. So in human it is urea. Organisms are called as ureotelic organism, and in maybe birds, insects, if you see the excretory waste or nitrogenous waste which is excreted is uric acid, which is least toxic and requires very less amount of water to be sent out. Okay, this is just a general knowledge I have given you. So but our main focus is on excretion in human. Our main focus is in excretion in human. Okay. So we have to study the excretory system. We have to study the excretory system. Before seeing the diagram of the excretory system, can you just recall what are the different parts which is present in your excretory system? What is there in your excretory system? Okay, excretory system. The excretory system consists of a pair of kidneys. Okay, so what is a kidney shape? It is, now we can call it as bean shape. There is a pair of kidney. There is a pair of kidney in your excretory system. Now, this kidney is, okay, then remember students, the right kidney is lower than left kidney, is lower than the left kidney because of the location of the largest organ of our body. Which is the largest organ of our body? Liver. Okay. Here there is liver, that is why the right kidney is lower. So when you draw a pair of kidneys higher in level, okay, that is because it just represents the position has come down because of the presence of the liver, the largest organ of our body. Liver is present over here above the which kidney? Right kidney. That is why right kidney is lower when compared to that of the left kidney. There is a pair of kidney and right kidney is lower than the left kidney. Then where is this kidney located? The kidney is located, location, high up in the abdominal cavity. Abdominal cavity, high up in the abdominal cavity, behind, where is it? It is behind the stomach and the liver, behind the stomach and the liver. Okay, so location is high up in the abdominal cavity, behind the 10 to 12 centimeter long. Can you imagine the size? 10 to 12 centimeter long, 10 to 12 centimeter long, and 5 to 7 centimeter wide it is. Breadth is 5 to 7 centimeter. 5 to 7 centimeter. Okay. So kidney, a pair of kidney. Color dark brown or reddish brown. Right is slightly lower than that of the left because of the liver. Location where? High up in the abdominal cavity, behind the stomach and the liver. Size 10 to 12 centimeter long, 5 to 7 centimeter breadth. Okay. What is its function, students? Function. What is the function of kidneys. It removes excess water and nitrogenous waste from the blood. From where? From the blood. Nitrogenous waste from the blood. How? In which form? In the form of urine. Okay. Then it helps in maintaining the concentration. It helps in maintaining the concentration of the blood. Concentration of the blood. And it is also going to help in maintaining homeostasis. Okay, it helps in maintaining homeostasis by regulating the concentration and volume of body fluids. Now, what is this homeostasis? What is this homeostasis? Homeostasis is nothing but maintaining internal stability. Internal stability is maintained. What is it called as? Homeostasis. How internal stability is maintained here? By regulating the concentration and volume of body fluid. Okay, the volume and concentration of body fluid is always regulated with the help of the kidney. Thereby it maintains homeostasis, that is, it maintains a internal stability. Okay, so this is the main function of the kidney. Okay, functions of the kidney. So our excretory system consists of a pair of kidney, which we have already studied. Then it also consists of a pair of ureters. What is this ureter? It is long muscular tube. It is a long muscular tube. It is a long muscular tube which develops from kidney. Okay, so if this is a pair of kidney, a long muscular tube which develops from the kidney, this is called as ureter. What is this, students? This is kidney. Which kidney is this? Left kidney. Which kidney is this? Right kidney. Okay, when you draw it in the same way, slightly lower, slightly higher, and a long muscular tube which is coming out of the kidney. What is that, students? It is a ureter. Okay. So I have shown you it comes from this part of the kidney, right? This notch. See, xylem. That notch portion. This portion is called as xylem. From here comes a ureter. Okay. So this ureter, how long it is? Ureter is 25 to 30 centimeters long. It is 25 to 30 centimeters long. So our excretory system consists of pair of ureters, which is a long muscular tube which develops from the xylem part of the kidney, which is 20 to 30 centimeters long. And what is the next part of the excretory system? It is urinary bladder. Urinary bladder. What is this urinary bladder? This is a sac-like structure. Urinary bladder is a sac-like structure. Is a sac-like structure which holds urine. Okay, it can hold urine. It can hold approximately 700 to 800 ml of urine. Okay. A bag-like structure which holds the urine. Opens into a bag-like structure. What is this bag-like structure or a sac-like structure? It is urinary bladder. Urinary bladder. Okay. And what is the next part? The last part of the excretory system is urethra. Urethra. This is a urethra. What is this urethra? So this is our excretory system. This is urethra. What is this urethra, students? It is a passage. It's a passageway and opens outside the body. It is going to open outside the body. And again, there is a sphincter here. What is here? Sphincter. Remember sphincter? Ring-like muscle. That sphincter in the urethra keeps urethra closed except at the time of urination. Okay, so urethra, it is through which the excretory system is going to open outside the body, and it always remains closed except when there is an urge for urination. Whenever a person feels like urinating or whenever the person is urinating, what happens? The urethra is going to open. What is going to help in urinating? The sphincter. The sphincter is always going to remain closed. Whenever the person feels like urinating, the sphincter helps in urination. Okay, that is the parts of the excretory system. See, this is our excretory system. I have just shown the important parts of the excretory system. which includes right and left kidney, ureter, urinary bladder, which opens through the urethra. Now here there are few more parts which are labeled here, and that in the diagram which is given in your textbook. You can see this purple color what I have indicated is inferior vena cava. So inferior vena cava, remember what is inferior vena cava function? Where you have come across inferior vena cava? We have come across inferior vena cava when we have studied different parts of our heart. What I have told you then about inferior vena cava? It brings the blood from the lower part of the body. Then I told you the inferior vena cava brings the deoxygenated blood from the lower part of the body. Okay, so here this what I am showing you, this is inferior vena cava. Then there is aorta. Okay, so aorta which carries a oxygenated blood. Inferior vena cava carries a deoxygenated blood away from the kidney towards the heart. Aorta brings oxygenated blood. This is a pair of kidney. This is ureter. This is urinary bladder. This is urethra. Inferior vena cava carries a deoxygenated blood to the heart. Aorta brings the oxygenated blood to the different parts of the body. Right kidney, left kidney, a pair of ureter, a urinary bladder and a urethra. This is human excretory system. Moving further, students, each kidney, you take a right kidney or a left kidney, each kidney is made up of tiny filtration units. Okay, what is this tiny filtration units called? It is called as nephrons. Each kidney is made up of tiny filtration units called as nephron. If a question is asked, name the structural and functional unit of kidney, what is your answer? It has to be nephrons. Each kidney is made up of tiny filtration units, and these filtration units are called as nephrons, or also you can call them as structural and functional unit of the kidney. Okay, and if you see this nephron, two main parts are glomerulus and renal tubules. Glomerulus and renal tubules are two main parts of nephron. Now, what is this glomerulus? Glomerulus is a tuft of, it is a tuft of capillaries. It is a tuft of capillaries. So here it is going to receive the blood. So blood is going to enter, through arterioles, right? So blood is going to enter through efferent arteriole. There are arterioles which enters inside, which is efferent arterioles. The blood is going to enter into the nephron through this efferent arteriole, and blood leaves the nephron through efferent arterioles. Leaves. Removed. The waste have to be filtered. The waste which is present in the blood has to be filtered. So this blood has to enter. So entering will be with the help of the efferent arteriole, and leaving is with the help of efferent arterioles. Okay, blood is going to enter through the efferent arterioles and leave to efferent arteriole. Okay, so this is just a glomerulus is just a tuft of capillaries, where you have to show one arteriole entering, the another arteriole which is leaving. Okay, entering is efferent and leaving is efferent. See, this is a nephron, and this part is glomerulus. It is a tuft of capillaries. Okay, tuft of capillaries. So one is entering here, arteriole entering, that is efferent arteriole, and the other one is leaving, that is efferent arteriole. And this tuft of capillaries is placed inside a cup shaped structure. Okay? Tuft of capillaries is a cup shaped structure. This cup shaped structure. This cup shaped structure is called as Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule. Tuft of capillary glomerulus is present inside a cup-shaped structure, that is Bowman's capsule. So students, Bowman's capsule along with glomerulus, it is called as renal corpuscle. Okay, these two together, it is called as renal corpuscle. Renal refers to kidney. Okay, so each kidney is made up of tiny filtration unit. What is that filtration unit? It's called as nephrons. So other way how you can define nephrons, it is a structural and functional unit of the kidney. Which are the two main parts of the nephron? Glomerulus and renal tubules. Okay, so glomerulus, what is glomerulus? It is nothing but a tuft of capillary. Where is that tuft of capillary placed, students? It is placed in a cup-shaped structure. That cup-shaped structure is called as Bowman's capsule. This is Bowman's capsule, and this glomerulus along with the Bowman's capsule, what is it called as? Renal capsule. Okay, so there is lot more to study about nephron. So we'll continue tomorrow in our next session. Thank you, students.